Laura sat by the window of a cozy cafe, watching as raindrops tapped against the glass, blurring the glow of streetlights on the wet pavement. Her thoughts were immersed in reflections about life, pondering how quickly everything had changed over the past few months. The decision to go to a secluded island with her family seemed like a necessary step for reevaluating her relationship with her husband, Ben, and her own desires. Ben, her husband, was usually someone you could rely on, but recent arguments and misunderstandings had left an unpleasant residue in their relationship. Laura hoped that a retreat in nature would help them find common ground and restore the lost harmony. However, Ben unexpectedly received an urgent work order and couldn't join the trip, which became the first stumbling block. As she was preparing to leave, Laura met with her parents, Michael and Sarah. Michael, her father, was a strict but fair man who had always supported his daughter. Sarah, Laura's mother, had a gentle nature and was the life of the party, capable of easing any situation. Their cousin Kevin, who had come to the island, added dynamics to the family group. Kevin was charismatic and mysterious, with whom Laura hadn't communicated for a long time. His unexpected visit to the island evoked mixed feelings in Laura, from joy to apprehension. Packing her belongings into the luggage, Laura couldn't shake the feeling that this trip would bring not only relaxation, but also new challenges. She hoped that the time spent amidst nature and close family would help her understand herself and her feelings better. However, an inner unease lingered, anticipating that the island would offer not just beautiful landscapes, but also emotional storms. When the family finally arrived on the island, they were greeted by a picturesque scene, dense tropical forests framing crystal-clear beaches. Although Michael and Sarah enthusiastically supported the idea, Laura felt a slight anxiety. She knew that Kevin was hiding something important and sensed that his mysterious intentions might soon surface, jeopardizing the harmony she so desperately sought. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Laura sat on the veranda of the cabin, gazing at the slowly darkening horizon. Her thoughts returned once again to Ben and how their lives had changed. Early in the morning, Laura's family left the cabin, filled with tropical aromas and the sounds of nature. The sun had already risen above the horizon, spreading a golden light across the pristine white sand. The water gently whispered to the shore, inviting them to immerse themselves in its coolness. Laura felt a light breeze, bringing with it freshness and the promise of new discoveries. "Let's go on a morning hike. It will help us get to know the island better and spend time together," Kevin suggested, smiling. Michael and Sarah gladly supported the idea, and Laura, though hesitant, agreed to join. They armed themselves with compasses and maps, and the group ventured into the depths of the tropical forest. Ancient trees reached toward the sky, their dense canopies filtering the sunlight and creating a mysterious atmosphere. As they progressed, they delved deeper into the forest, encountering exotic plants and a variety of wildlife. Kevin led them along narrow trails, occasionally stopping to show interesting plants or unusual tracks on the ground. After an hour of walking, they stopped in a small clearing surrounded by tall trees. Kevin unfolded a map and began explaining the rules of the game. Each participant was to find specific markers hidden throughout the area using clues. It was meant to be a fun challenge to strengthen the family bond. "This is a great opportunity for us to get to know each other and the island better," he said, looking at Laura with warmth. But a feeling of unease grew in her heart. What was Kevin hiding? Why had he suddenly decided to come and propose such activities? After several hours of searching and making modest progress, the family decided to take a break. Laura suggested resting by a small creek where they could refresh themselves and have a snack. While Michael and Sarah chatted about the past, Kevin offered to take Laura for a walk a bit further to show her his favorite spot on the island. As they walked along a narrow path, Laura noticed strange symbols on the tree trunks, etched lines and patterns resembling ancient scripts. Her heart raced as she pointed them out to Kevin. "This is part of the local legend," he explained, carefully examining the markings. "They say these symbols guard the island's secrets and bring luck to those who understand them." The symbols looked too familiar, too similar to those she had seen in old family albums dedicated to their lineage's legends. Her intuition suggested that there was something more behind this than just a children's game. "Are you sure this is all safe?" Laura asked, trying to conceal the worry in her voice. Kevin looked at her with a slight smile. "The island is full of mysteries and enigmas, but that's what makes it so unique. Let's continue. I'm sure something amazing awaits us." Returning to the rest of the family, Laura couldn't shake the feeling that they had only begun to uncover the surface of this place. Morning on the island began with the songs of birds and a gentle breeze rustling the palm leaves. Laura's family decided to diversify their stay by engaging in several active activities. The first item on the agenda was kayaking through narrow streams, winding through dense thickets. Transitioning from the calm waters to the vibrant colors of the local market, the family set out to explore it. Bright stalls offered a variety of exotic goods, fresh fruits, fragrant spices, and handmade crafts by local artisans. Laura was enchanted by the diversity and energy of the market, but her attention was constantly drawn to Kevin and his strange conversations. He told stories about ancient rituals and forgotten traditions of the island, the details of which seemed too personal to Laura and possibly concealed something more. After a fulfilling day at the market, the family decided to attend a cooking class focused on local dishes. Under the guidance of an experienced chef, they learned to prepare mysterious recipes, filling the air with the aromas of spices and fresh ingredients. Laura enjoyed the process, but her thoughts never left Kevin. He seemed to find more reasons to speak with her alone, sharing stories from his past that she knew little about or not at all. His openness made her feel uneasy, raising questions about his true intentions. In the evening, the family embarked on a joint hike to a waterfall located in the heart of the island. Kevin once again began sharing personal stories, talking about his failed relationships and his search for the meaning of life. When they finally reached the waterfall, the sounds of the cascading water created a soothing backdrop. The family settled on a small rock, enjoying the beauty of nature. However, Kevin couldn't calm down and continued to speak about his feelings and doubts, making Laura feel increasingly vulnerable. She tried to maintain a smile and participate in the conversation, but inside she was battling conflicting emotions. Returning to the cabin, Laura sat on the veranda, gazing at the twinkling stars above the ocean. Her heart was full of questions and doubts, and her mind sought answers in the silence of the night. She realized that the island held not only natural beauty, but also profound emotional challenges awaiting her. Laura knew that the coming days would bring even more discoveries and might force her to confront the most intimate aspects of her soul. The sun was slowly sinking below the horizon, painting the sky in warm shades of pink and orange. Laura's family decided to spend the evening on the beach, organizing a barbecue under the open sky. Michael and Sarah took on the task of preparing the food, lighting the coals and arranging the skewers, while the children played badminton joyfully, laughing and competing with one another. Laura joined them, helping to flip the meat and ensuring everything was ready for dinner. When the sun had completely disappeared below the horizon, the sky was sprinkled with stars, reflecting in the calm waters of the ocean. Michael suggested moving to the bonfire to spend the rest of the evening by the fire. Everyone gladly agreed, gathering around the blazing embers. Laura settled onto a comfortable blanket next to Sarah, enjoying the warmth of the fire and the sounds of the night. Kevin, who up to that moment had seemed more detached, suddenly took a microphone and proposed a game to bring the family even closer. "Let's share our most cherished dreams," he said, looking at each of those present. His voice was soft but confident, creating an atmosphere of trust and intimacy. At first, everyone eagerly began to talk about their dreams. Michael dreamed of a peaceful old age, Sarah of more time for her hobbies, the children of new games and adventures. When it was Kevin's turn, he hesitated for a moment, then spoke with extraordinary candor. "My biggest dream is to find my true calling and achieve inner peace," he said, looking directly into Laura's eyes. There was sincerity in his voice and a certain hidden meaning that Laura couldn't immediately understand. Laura felt her heart begin to race. She hadn't expected Kevin to touch on such personal topics. His words penetrated deeply, evoking mixed feelings in her, from curiosity to concern. Kevin continued, "You know, Laura, I've always admired your ability to find balance and maintain harmony in the family. I feel like I've lost my way and I'm looking for someone who could help me figure myself out." The taste of a kiss was unexpected and exhilarating, leaving Laura in a state of confusion and fear. Realizing the seriousness of the moment, Kevin stepped back, his face showing a mixture of regret and hope. "Laura, I didn't mean to do this. It's just, I couldn't hold back my feelings any longer," he whispered. Laura fell silent, trying to find words that could express her tangled emotions. She looked toward the bonfire, where the flames reflected in her eyes, symbolizing the burning inner fire. Her thoughts were torn between her duty to her family and the unexpected feelings that now demanded attention. That evening by the fire marked a turning point that forever changed the dynamics of relationships within the family. The night on the island was especially quiet, as if nature itself was giving Laura's family the opportunity to rest and recharge after a busy day. Her mind was torn between memories of the kiss with Kevin and worries about the future of her relationship with Ben. Finally, deciding that she needed to sort out her feelings, Laura took out her phone and opened the messaging app. She began typing a message to Ben, carefully choosing her words to express her concerns and ask for support. However, when she sent the message, she received only a short, almost automatic reply, "Can't talk right now. Good night." This silence only heightened her anxiety. That same night, Kevin, noticing that Laura hadn't gone to sleep, quietly approached her window. He knocked a few times before Laura, barely opening her eyes, saw his silhouette on the windowsill. "Laura, can we talk?" His voice was quiet, but insistent. Laura, still not fully awake from sleep, hesitated. Her heart tightened with fear and doubt, but curiosity overcame her. She opened the window and allowed Kevin to enter the room. His presence was both soothing and unsettling. "What do you want to say?" she asked, trying to hide the tremor in her voice. Kevin sat on the edge of the bed, his eyes seeking understanding in hers. "I can't stop my feelings, Laura. After we were by the fire, I realized I can't hide what I feel anymore. I know it's wrong, but I can't hold back." Kevin sighed, lowering his eyes. "I understand, and I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you or your relationship with Ben. It's just, I can't keep this inside anymore." Meanwhile, Kevin stood up and slowly left the room, leaving Laura to ponder and grapple with her deep internal struggle. She lay back down, knowing that challenging days lay ahead, filled with doubts and the necessity to make difficult choices. The night continued its endless passage, and Laura, lying in the darkness, realized that the island had become a place not only for relaxation, but also an arena for her most cherished emotions and trials. She knew that to find her way forward, she would have to confront the truth about herself and her feelings, which were now becoming an increasingly inseparable part of her life. The sky above the island suddenly darkened, as if nature itself had decided to reflect the internal storm raging within Laura's soul. The wind began to intensify, dispersing the clouds and whipping the trees of the tropical forest with fierce force. At first, it was a gentle breeze that softly swayed the palm trees, but soon it transformed into a raging tempest, accompanied by rumbles of thunder and flashes of lightning. "We need to find shelter immediately!" Michael shouted, trying to stay calm, though his voice betrayed his anxiety. The family hurriedly gathered their belongings and ran back to the cabin where other vacationers were already seeking refuge. However, the tropical roads and paths became impassable due to the strong winds and the onset of the downpour. Falling branches and collapsing trees created obstacles in their way. "We need to stay here until the storm passes," Kevin said, his voice full of determination, yet his eyes shimmered with worry. They both understood that they were alone, as the rest of the family had tried to find safety in different directions. "Laura, His voice trembled, and he took a step forward, crossing the boundaries of personal space. Laura felt her heart tighten from a mix of emotions, fear, guilt, and a strange attraction. She realized that this moment would change everything between them. Without warning, amidst the gusts of wind and the roar of thunder, Kevin leaned in and kissed her. "I'm sorry, Laura. I didn't mean to," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the storm's noise. Laura froze for a moment, feeling the entire world around them disappear, leaving only the two of them in that confined space. Her mind raced between her duty to her family and the unexpected emotions that now demanded her attention. "Kevin, this is wrong," she said, trying to regain control of the situation. "I have a family, and I can't let this destroy everything." However, her words felt like weak consolation in the midst of the storm, both external and internal. At that moment, they both realized that their paths were diverging, leaving behind only traces in the wet earth and unresolved feelings that now bound them even tighter, despite all obstacles. The storm continued to rage, refusing to give them peace, as if emphasizing the importance of that moment. When the tempest began to subside, leaving behind a wet and quiet island, Laura and Kevin remained in the tent, contemplating what had transpired. The external world had calmed, but inside them, turmoil continued to brew, foreshadowing inevitable changes and new challenges they would have to overcome. The storm on the island gradually subsided, leaving behind a damp and peaceful landscape, as if nature itself was trying to calm the internal storms of each family member. Laura felt a heaviness in her heart. She knew that the recent events had forever changed her relationship with Ben. As the family began their journey back, Laura sat silently, gazing out the car window at the passing tropical forests and beaches. Her thoughts oscillated between the recent events and the impending return to everyday life. She knew that the storm had left not only physical traces but also wounds in her relationship with Ben. "We should have returned earlier," he said softly, trying to find the right words. "But the weather conditions were unpredictable." Sarah nodded, adding, "The important thing is that we're all safe." But Laura knew that the family's safety had been compromised not only by external circumstances, but also by internal conflicts. On the third day after returning home, Laura received an unexpected message on her phone. It was a video sent from the island. Inside the file, she saw footage of the night when the storm raged, and Kevin was with her in the tent. The video had been made secretly, capturing the moment of their kiss. Ben, upon receiving the notification of a new message, opened it. His eyes widened in shock and betrayal. He watched the video several times, trying to understand how this could have happened. Thoughts of trust, deceit, and infidelity swirled in his mind. That evening, Ben came home earlier than usual. "We need to talk," Ben said, his voice hoarse from suppressed emotions. Laura nodded, inviting him in. They sat in the living room, surrounded by silence and unspoken words. Ben began to speak, his words filled with pain and anger. "How could you, Laura? We were working on our relationship, trying to understand each other, and you—" Laura tried to respond, but the words caught in her throat. She realized she couldn't explain her feelings and actions the way he expected. Instead, she began to cry, recognizing the depth of her mistake. "I didn't know what to do." Ben stood up, his eyes blazing with anger and disappointment. "A mistake? This isn't just a mistake, Laura. You betrayed our family, our promises." Laura tried to approach him, but Ben pulled away, unwilling to see her up close. "I can't forgive this," he said, his voice firm. "I need time to sort myself out and figure out what's next." With those words, Ben left the house, leaving Laura in the empty living room, surrounded by the echo of her own tears. She realized that all her efforts to save her marriage had been shattered by one wrong step, reinforced by the video he had received. Looking around the empty room, Laura felt a deep emptiness and the realization that her life had changed forever. The next day, Laura tried to reach out to Ben, but he didn't answer his calls or messages. She understood that their relationship was coming to an end. As she stood by the window, watching the sunset, Laura realized that she would have to overcome not only the loss of her marriage, but also grapple with herself, her desires, and her mistakes. These events became a turning point in her life. Laura understood that to move forward, she needed to accept her mistakes, find the strength to forgive herself, and perhaps embark on a new path that would lead her to a true understanding of herself and her desires. Returning home became not only a physical journey, but also an emotional one, opening up new horizons and opportunities for growth and self-development.